Okay, welcome back everybody. Second screening of the day here at CineWyre, Year 1, Day 1. We've just watched Cowgirls and Synthesizers. And joining me on the stage is the narrator of the film.
Yes.
Rick Autobahn.
Hello. Yes, I don't want to overstate my role in this film, because on the IMDb page, the write-up goes, Ricardo Autobahn follows Hyperbubble to their journey to Nashville. So it's like it's my film or something. When it's actually, I spent about 9 minutes recording the dialogue for it in 2019, and that's it. I'm happy to take credit for the film, quite frankly, but...
and you should. You're here on the stage with us, so I think you should take as much
credit.
I'm
Hyperbubble's representative in the UK, because they're obviously American, as you saw from the film. Don't hold that against them. They're very nice. But yes, I'm the representative on Earth.
For those who don't know who you are yourself, just want to give a little introduction to your background?
I was a pop star for about a week in 1999 when I made a novelty record that got to number 4 in the Christmas charts. I battled Cliff Richard for the Christmas number 1 and failed. And then I did a assortment of other, should we say, novelty records over the next 10 years or so. We did Eurovision at one point, and I then joined the punk band Helen Love, who you saw in the film. Hyperbubble supported Helen Love in London in 2014. That was where I first met them for the first time. And we sort of struck this firm friendship that lasted to this day, really.
So how did your involvement in the film come about?
I don't know. That's the thing. Jeff emailed me one day saying, would you like to narrate this film? And I said, yes. What a fantastic idea. It's exactly the sort of madcap scheme that Jeff would indeed come up with. So I went out in the backfield, which was incidentally filmed about 10 miles that way, in a field outside Longwood. So it is a local film, everybody. And then sent it to him. Then so I kind of forgot about it for 3 or 4 years until it eventually came out. And then, oh yeah, I was in that. But no, because we'd become firm friends at the Helen Love gig. The first thing we discussed was the 80s synth-pop band landscape. And nobody's ever discussed the 80s synth-pop band landscape with me in my entire life, so I knew they were good people.
Tell us a bit more about the 80s synth-pop band landscape.
They did the song Einstein A Go-Go, if you remember that, in 1981, and the lesser-known follow-up Norman Bates. But they were sort of a jazz-influenced synth-pop band. They went on to, separately, produce people like Spandau Ballet. Pop facts.
Did Jeff provide you with the dialogue for this?
Yes, it was very specific dialogue, and it was thrilling 4 years later to see the visuals that I was describing, like the Manuel's clothes shop and things like that. These things had all built up in your mind over the years, and to see them made flesh, as it were.
4 years later, did you?
I think it was about that. It came out in 2023, I think, didn't it? It was doing the US film festivals in 23, European ones in 2024, and I think, as far as I'm aware, they've been preparing the DVD release in the past year, which should be out very soon.
Excellent. Oh, and special features on there? You on there?
I'd like to think so. I've certainly offered my services. They haven't asked me for anything yet, but I'd love to do a film commentary. I've always wanted to do a commentary, but nobody's ever asked me.
All right, we'll have a word, because I think it's more than worthwhile you're doing. So how well is it done on the circuit? Is it played well across the globe? America got the...
It won Best Original Documentary in Berlin, and a bunch of things in the US. The free, website, the free film site has all lists of all Hyperbubble's successes with this film around the world, but it's gone incredibly well. And as it should, because it's a great film. It's an interesting and fascinating way of putting yourself out there as a band in a world where it's increasingly difficult to put yourself out there as a band. To make a film.
As a band, where have they found the most success?
It seems to, very locally in Texas, they're huge. And that's a great thing, because when you're a cult band, the one thing, the great thing about being a cult band is everybody you meet becomes your friend, and you get these lifelong friendships. And you can see that in the film, that all the people they know in Texas, all the people they've met on their travels, are still friends with them. Whereas I don't know a single person from my brief career as a major label pop star, but all the people I've met in the cult music scene I still know. But also, weirdly, Scotland and the UK, they've always been very popular. I think their first ever gig in the UK was in Lancaster, so they've always had a great fondness for this side of the pond, as it were.
Do they still tour?
Yeah, regularly, yes. They were hoping to come over for this, but couldn't quite get the visas right. But if they come, if you want to show it again, I'm sure they'll come over. And they may throw in a few live dates at the time, make the trip worthwhile.
That sounds interesting. That sounds really good to me. Watching them, it seems to me like they know what they want to do and they know how they want it to be done. Was that true for the making of this film as well?
That's exactly it. Everything they do sort of has a manifesto behind it. It's very well thought through. It's not just randomly charging forward and making art. They think about it, and they plan it, and there's the framework and the foundations are already there. Very much like Devo in that sort of sense. You know the band Devo? There's also a manifesto, there's a theory behind everything they do. And the idea of doing a country synth pop album, it's a great idea. As with all great ideas, achieving that idea or fulfilling that idea in the end is the hard part. And the fact that they did it is a testament to them and their moxie, I think is the word.
So, do you know much then about how the film actually came about in the first place, when the idea to actually make a film about their journey came around?
It seemed to be around about the time they were supporting us in London, supporting Helen Love in London, and they just went off and did it. I mean, that's like I say, that's their process, their moxie, their balls, if you will. They just go ahead and do things. It cost them $24,000 over a period of 8 years, over half of which was editing. And you saw the names at the end of the film. A lot of people chipped in sort of $50 here and there. But by and large, it was just made piecemeal over a long period of time.
So we got to know Jeff and Jess very well through that, but then of course Joe Wallace is the name that pops up as the actual director of the piece as well. Who's Joe? What do we know about him?
Joe was still is, I suppose, an interviewer and the videographer for the Air Force, of all people. He's interviewed everybody from Gary Newman to the Reverend Jesse Jackson in his career. And I assume, to fancy the challenge, by working with Hyperbubble. He has said it on many occasions that a quite inspiring thing that everybody in this room has in their pocket the ability to film, produce and distribute a motion picture. You can do it all on your phone nowadays. The problem with that is that everybody's doing it on their phone nowadays, so making yourself visible is even more difficult. But just do it. That's his great motto is just do it, generally.
I'd like to pass it out to the audience, see if they've got any questions for you as well. So if anybody in the audience has got any questions, please just do pop your hand up.
I was just going to ask, what was the record?
The first one was Cognoscenti versus Intelligentsia by the Cuban Boys, merch available. It was a novelty chipmunk sort of record in Christmas '99. But then, interestingly, a couple of years later, I went to Arizona with my friend Daz, and we recorded a version of Rhinestone Cowboy with Glenn Campbell, which was also a hit in the charts. Now, a number of elements from that I gave to Jeff from Hyperbubble to use on their version of Rhinestone Cowboy. If you listen carefully to the version on the CD, you can hear Daz hollering his sort of rap chants at the end. Now, I'm not entirely sure I was allowed to do that because I think it's under copyright to Universal, but I did anyway because it's punk rock, isn't it? But that was our second hit. And then a couple of years after that, me and Daz went to Eurovision and we did with the UK entry in 2006 with Teenage Life.
Anybody else? Yeah, no microphone over.
That was such fun, really.
It's been good, that film.
Yeah, really enjoyed it, thank you. It's about, I suppose it's a question about longevity, because they've been going a while, as have you don't mind me saying?
Please. I look much younger.
Yeah, but it's like, I'm thrilled now, because locally we have lots of independent record stores. Overtones here in Fleetwood, Tiny Park, it's not an advert, honestly. Tiny Park in Cleveland, and then there was Inertial Sounds, which is in Blackpool, and they were the subject of the film earlier this morning. But it's like, it's a bit of a big question, but how did it come from MTV, which is where, my era, where I'm from, to now, where we're all going back to indie record stores, to what's next?
Everything got so big, didn't it? The music business got so big that people couldn't get a handle on it anymore. And people like us, I assume, are more interested in the human aspect of music and are happy to have something tactile in our hands that we can touch. The music business has never known what it was doing at any given point in time. Anybody in the music business has no clue what they're doing. But back in sort of the 90s, noughties, before that, you could throw a lot of money at something and it would you had direct routes, known routes as to where you could go to make a success. Nowadays it's a free fall for everybody, and that is why I think people are hanging on to the traditional things they want to, like records and the cassette revival, which I find completely baffling, but people like to hold things in their hands, and I think this is what we'll do for AI music as well, that people just won't enjoy it really, and we'll realise that very soon, that they want the human interaction.
Anybody else?
I've got one of myself. We've seen in the film that the DIY approach to music is quite prevalent in the way that Hyperbubble do their music, and we've also witnessed the last couple of years a bit of a revival of the 80s synth pop sort of regime. What is the future for musicians these days who can just go and self-produce, self-distribute their own work, and how do they just go and get their work seen and heard by as many people as possible?
I don't know, is the accurate answer to that. You try everything. Everything is available to you now. If we had this technology 20 years ago when I was on a major label, it would have been amazing, but also everybody else would have been doing it at the same time. But the idea of, you have to put yourself out there, you have to find a new idea so everybody knows you, so everybody can find you. And the idea of making a film, like Hyperbubble have done, is a brilliant idea, but it will take 8 years of your life. Not everybody can do that. That's why this will probably be the most successful thing Hyperbubble will do. And the most, no, maybe not successful, the most visual thing Hyperbubble, it will get them above the parapet more than any CD or album could.
Effectively, it is living up to Oscar Wilde's immortal quote, "Be yourself, everyone else is taken."
Yes, everybody else is an idiot, quite frankly. That's my motto. Well, just do it, that's the thing. Do it, do the art. Coming up with the idea is easy. Making the art is fun, then finishing the art is the difficult bit. You have to do it, but the more important thing is finish it as well. So that's what they did. God love them.
Have they got new works on the way?
That I don't know. I assume so, yes, because, well, you've seen them. Their minds are working a million miles an hour all the time. But I haven't officially heard anything yet.
Just quickly to nip back to your moment in the film. Is that all you? Did you have to self-shoot that as well?
Yeah. We just went out in the backfield, set up a camera. I did my piece to camera, came indoors, realised you couldn't hear a word I was saying, so I had to ADR it on the computer. I mean, interestingly, Jeff then dubbed in all the sheep noises afterwards, so it made it look like it was really there.
Again, I think that makes it feel Hyperbubble-esque as well, because they do that quite a lot throughout the film anyway. They're clearly on camera talking, but then they've re-recorded it over, and it feels Hyperbubble.
There's a slightly, what's the word I'm looking for? Disconnect. There's this slightly surreal, cheesy element to it, where everything's slightly synthetic. They told me it was influenced by Second City TV, the sort of Canadian sketch show of the 70s and 80s, where everything was on a green screen, was sort of deliberately a bit wonky. So they've got that hyper-real sort of setup, really. But yeah, I can't remember if Jeff asked me to be in camera, but I took it upon myself to go and stand in the field, and amazingly, it sort of worked in the concept of the movie. Movie, yeah, very good, very good, very good.
What's next for you?
What is next for me? Do you know what? Nothing is next to me. My band, the Cuban Boys, are still playing live. We played in Leeds a couple of weeks ago, but nothing's booked at the minute. I do music for sort of TV and stuff like that, and library music, background music, things like that. That's my go-to day job for money. But no, there'll be a new album by Spray, a new album by Spray, which is a band I'm in, and Hyperbubble appeared on one of our albums. That was the first thing we collaborated on after I'd first met them. They appeared on one of our albums, but like Hyperbubble, we're a synth male-female duo, and we just keep going despite an incredible lack of response from the public.
So I mentioned it right at the beginning when we came out, that these guys are one of my favourite bands now that I'd never heard of until I got the wonderful opportunity to see this film. Hopefully it's the same for people out there. It's very difficult to give people a recommendation for something they've not had an experience with or they've not come across on YouTube these days. For me, this film works because it's them. You know, if you've never come across them before, when this film starts, you're like, what the hell is this? But by the time you've gone through the journey, through the end, you're 100% on board. You know who they are, you know what their feel is and what their vibe is. If we want more people to experience Hyperbubble, and we have to sell it to them in an elevator, we've got 30 seconds, go, this is who these people are, go and listen to them. How should we be describing them?
I don't know. The thing I always think about Hyperbubble is never the music, it's the colours, really. You know, there's a rainbow-coloured synthetic synth band. You know, tell people that. Neon, 3D, 80s, Rubik's Cubes, all that business. I just don't know, because they're so unique and so odd. And the idea of imagining that country music would work in a synthetic style, the leaps your brain has to go through to get to that conclusion is amazing. So I don't know how to describe them, quite frankly, because we could describe them in a certain way, and who knows, the next album, in 2 months' time, they could come out with a goth album or something like that and ruin everything. So who knows?
I would love to see that.
Yeah, that's a good idea, I'll tell him.
Yeah, pitch that. Let's get.
I will.
Make sure we get a percentage. Don't just listen to them. Watch them. Find a video, watch them.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's how they went viral in the first place. They're crackpot videos, so yeah.
Well, I 100% sincerely hope that they'll be able to come to one of our events in the future and we can keep showcasing their work.
If you show it, they will come.
I hope so. Ladies and gentlemen, Ricardo Autobahn, thank you very much.
Oh, hang on, we do have one last audience question.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed you then. Apologies. Hello.
I think it's very brave of you to have started a film festival in Fleetwood. It must be quite a risky thing to do. Fleetwood is the end of the line in many ways. And I just wanted to know how far Cowgirls and Synthesis had managed to spread their fame, and how many shows have they managed to get into? Whereabouts in the world have they managed it?
In 2023, they were all over America. I think there was at least 12 or 13 film festivals that were in America. In 2024, they were in places like Berlin and Paris, all across Europe. So it's not been a wide mainstream release yet to the public, but they've really, on their own bat, there's only 3 people who made this film. There was the 2 band members and Joe, the director. And off their own bat, they've got across the world coverage out of this. So it's a very impressive achievement they've made, quite frankly.
Anybody else? Yeah, go on.
Have you heard of a Canadian heavy metal band called Anvil?
I have, yes, but I've never seen their film. I keep meaning to.
We went to see their film, it was over 10 years ago. And
Yeah.
we'd never heard of them, and it had all their history, like this film did, and their LPs and heavy metal festivals that they'd appeared in. And I was watching it thinking, are they real? Because I've never heard of them. Are they just making this up like Spinal Tap? And it's a bit similar to this one, because I've never heard of this band either, so I'm thinking, are they real? Have they just made it up? But in that time, all those years, I've still never heard of them.
No, that's a good point, actually. I remember the film coming out, and I've never seen it, but again, they've not exactly become household names of Anvil, have they, since then?
No, but at the end of the film, Anvil themselves appeared in the flesh.
Oh.
So they mingled with us, so they seemed to be real, unless they were the actors. Like Spinal Tap.
You know what, you inspired me to hunt that out and watch it, because I meant to do it, so, and I will now. You're an influencer, quite frankly.
Look out for Anvil.
Well, if anybody would like a copy of Hyperbubble's album, what was it?
Western Wear.
Western Wear, I've got a few copies of it behind the scenes. Come and grab me in the corridor, and I'll sneak you a copy because I've got one, and I'll keep you one for myself because I'm playing it in the car on the way home. I absolutely adore it. All right, stay with us because at 3 o'clock, Jake Mark is with us to do a talk on breaking into the industry. So whether you're a filmmaker yourself looking to get into the film industry, you just want to know a little bit about the behind-the-scenes world of making films and how people actually manage to get a start in it. Perfectly relevant for people here. You know, as you said, we're in Fleetwood. You know, there's not as many opportunities, sadly, at this end of the coast, and that's one of the main reasons why we have a festival like this, that we're bringing it here to be able to support local filmmakers and local artists like Anton from this morning, Jake, who's going to be with us to do the talk, and of course all of the wonderful filmmakers that we're showcasing as well. So stay with us because that's going to be a fascinating little talk that we're going to have there. There'll be a Q&A afterwards as well. Of course, we've got some more films this afternoon and into the evening as well. So enjoy a little bit of a break, everybody, and we'll see you in the hour. Thank you very much.
Thank you.